as ID increases, beam intensity will decrease, okay? And vice versa. And we look at this many times. This is the inverse of square law, right?
Yeah.
If I double my distance from a point source, what is it that I'm doing with those? If I double the distance?
Your dose is reduced,
Reduced by what?
half.
No.
4 times.
4 times. 4 times. The inverse of square law. 4 times. The opposite is true. If I get closer, if I reduce distance, okay, by half, say from 2 meters to 1 meter, now what happens to my dose? Increases by 4 folds, okay? So very, very easy, okay? Very easy to see it that way. Think of it, if you forget, think about doubling it, okay? All right, inverse of square law. Intensity of radiation at a given distance from a point source is inversely related to the square of the distance between the object and the source. Okay, we looked at that many times. Now, this is a formula that is probably more useful to us because we don't think in terms of the inverse of square law. It's telling you about exposure, but technologies don't have ion chambers to be measuring exposure. You're looking at density, all right? And so this becomes more useful. If you want to change the density, double or half the density by mass, this is the formula you use. And as you can see, it's pretty much like the inverse of square law, except this is reversed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of having the, as you have intensity on the inverse of square law, okay, you have distance.
Like the direct square law.
Huh? What is it?
Like direct square, because it's similar.
All right. Okay. It's called the Maynard's. It's called the Maynard's formula.
Okay.
That's the Maynard's formula. All right. All right. And so here, and I don't have your distance, so ignore those pictures. Okay. Tabletop to radiography. Typically in diagnostic radiography, we're going to use 40, which is approximately 100 centimeters, and 72 inches, which is approximately 180 centimeters. Okay. Visual receptor systems, density and contrast controlled through post-processing as well. Okay, if we look at film, and we looked at this before, this has to do a lot with how the film is developed. Chemical concentration, temperature, and the amount of time you're allowing the film to be in the chemical will have an influence on the density and the contrast. Still, the image receptor must receive proper exposure. Okay, there's only so much you can do, so much you can, especially with film. Okay, extremely high or low exposure do not produce acceptable image quality. Doesn't matter how much you change the chemicals. Okay, it's not going to work. Same thing with digital. If you grossly expose, you know, your system can help you kind of bring it into range, but if you grossly overexpose, it's not going to fix it. Okay, it can be done, and vice versa. If you are underexposing, is not going to be able to do anything. KVP based on desired contrast. Okay, distance selected based on the desired beam geometry. Okay, mass is adjusted to meet exposure needs, basically to acquire the density that you want. Okay, the distance. What you should think about distance is, when I say the geometry, is you should be thinking of the resolution. Okay, do I want good resolution, high? You know, what do I want? Okay, because it is determined. Remember, I had mentioned to you before. We're going to look at it again later, but I had mentioned to you before that resolution is a geometric factor. Have you heard me say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a geometric factor. It doesn't have to do with your technical factors. Okay? KVP based on desired contrast. So KVP, you should think of the contrast. If I want to control contrast, it's KVP. Density. The first thing is mass, but then also KVP.
Okay.
All right?
So density is in.
Say that one more time.
Yeah. The contrast is always controlled by the KVP. Okay? And And obviously we can think of collimation and grids and all of that, and cones, yeah, but the main thing is KVP. Mass controls the density. However, KVP can also influence density.
Okay, so mass and KVP.
Okay? Alright, so here we go with the next chapter, guys. Alright, this is great. That was only an intro to radiographic quality. Okay, this is the real thing, and here's where we're going to spend more time. That's why I didn't want to spend too much time on that, because that was only the intro to this section. The following sections. Come on. Radiographic quality. It is defined as the exactness of representation. Exactness means what?
How precise you're representing the anatomy you're looking for?
Yeah, how close are you really to the anatomy that you're trying to represent? That's what it's saying. Say, for example, trying to represent a chest. How close is your radiograph representing that lung? Okay?
It's later.
So it is the exactness of representation of anatomic structures on a radiograph within the useful density range. Okay? All right, there we go. Not done.
No, I think you skipped body habitats and part thickness, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. That's then everyone.
Oh. Does it mean that you're not responsible?
No, but we've
No, I
already.
gave it to you, but I.
I don't see it. No. Here.
Review.
Let me know when you find it. I'm waiting.
Oh, you skip whole chapter?
Just one page over. Let's skip.
Oh, you don't get
Flip the page.
You said we're still responsible for it. Oh.
All right, here we go.
Oh,
Ready?
you don't go to
Look,
radiographic?
I don't want to. All right, radiographic quality. A high-quality radiograph is one to demonstrate the specific anatomic part of interest with a sharp image and with appropriate density and contrast. Okay? This is resolution, this is density, this is contrast. The image must have the least amount of magnification and distortion of the actual size and shape of the anatomical part. You will always have some magnification because of the geometry. Always happens. Okay? So expect it, but you want to have the least amount of magnification as possible. Okay? Good? Okay, okay. All right. Factors that affect quality: density, contrast, recorded detail, distortion, and distortion you can put here. Distortion will include magnification, minification. That's leave it like that for now. Okay? And distortion affects recorded detail. But for now, let's keep it separate. Okay? So density, contrast, resolution, and distortion. All right, so density. There we go. Objectives. You can read the objectives. Okay, so density. Tissue density, just to get it out of, and we can understand this. You need to clarify if you're talking about tissue density or radiographic density. Okay? We did this earlier. I can't remember which class, but I did. So, if you're talking about tissue density, that refers to the nature of the tissue. Is it bone, which is going to be denser than muscle, right? Muscle will be denser than fat. Okay, so you have to specify what type of tissue density you're talking about. Is that clear, everybody? Okay, now optical or radiographic density is the degree of blackening or opaqueness that you have on a radiograph. Okay, that's all there is. Density is the degree of blackness that you have on a radiograph. When someone asks you about density on a radiograph, the first thing that you should ask, say for example, if I'm showing you this, and you ask me what is the density, the first thing I'm going to ask is where. You have to point at where. you're asking. Okay, for example, here is high, right there. See here, there is low. Okay, there's kind of medium. That's kind of high. This is really high down here. So see what I'm saying? So because you have a multitude of density ranges that you have here on the radiograph, I could say the overall density of this image, I think, is slightly light. If you want to be more descriptive. But if someone is asking you density of the film, they need to tell you specifically where, unless they say what is the overall density. Do you follow me? Okay. So the density is the amount of exposure reaching the film determines the amount of density on the finished radiograph. Now this is film, right? Because there was no changes with film. Film, you expose it, it turned out dark. Now with digital systems, this is kind of true, okay? But you can change those densities. You can change if you want it darker or lighter. You have more influence as after the image has been done. Do you guys remember when we first looked at CR systems, I told you there is a mode called the fixed mode? The fixed mode acts just like film. If we were to use our system in fixed mode, then you will see, because whatever exposure will represent that specific density. Are you? Yeah.
Does that mean the computer doesn't fix it?
With fixed mode, no.
It
The
does not
computer
fix
doesn't
it.
fix it. The computer doesn't do anything. It leaves it alone. It leaves it like if it was film. Okay. I mean, the whole part of the game with digital systems is to improve it, right? So it is no point on it, on using it, unless you're gonna be off center. Then you could use it. Okay. Is that clear? So that's what I keep going back. If you want to see, if you want to see how much exposure you have with digital systems, you have to look at your exposure index and not at the densities, because the densities, say for example, you're doing, I don't know, an abdomen, a portable abdomen with a digital system, and you use 80 at 80, okay, big patient. Say you have 80 kVp and 80 mass, okay? Now, the next technologist goes back and does the same patient, same distance, same grid, okay, same bed. The patient hasn't eaten or the patient is the same, okay? Do an exposure, but instead of using 80 at 80, uses 80 kVp at 100 mass. The images are going to look the same. Images are going to look the same. Okay? Is there a change in exposure to the patient? You bet. You bet there is. Okay? But they are going to look about the same. Why is that? Because the computer is adjust. Remember when we talked about
computer corrects it.
you know, a graphical representation of an exposure? You have a master key, and when you make an exposure, your exposure might not look exactly the same as this, but your computer will grab your information, grab this information it has, and stick it in here, and make it fit. Okay, and so the images look about the same, even if you have more exposure. Yeah, Dennis. All right. Not losing you, am I?
No, the algorithm for the digital systems will automatically correct it based on.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. It was good with one eye. I hope you lose that one.
It's my lazy eye.
Good. All right. I'm paying attention, guys. Don't fall asleep on me. Yeah. All right. Okay, two photographic factors allow detail to be seen: density and contrast. This is different. Okay. Now I'm talking. Remember, detail is another term that we use for resolution. Is another term that we use for or detail. Well, detail is detail. Okay. All right. But it's another term for resolution. Are you following me?
Yes.
What I'm saying here is the two photographic factors that allow, underline allow, okay, is allowing you to see the resolution is density and contrast. And this is in digital systems, this will be your brightness. This is your window level. When you change that. Okay? So what I'm saying is this, and this is another way of saying that your technical factors do not change the resolution, but your technical factors influence how you're going to see the resolution. That makes sense?
Okay, technical factors.
Okay? For example, all right. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, look at you guys. Look at your neighbor. Hey, really, look at him. Take a good look. All right? Take a good look. Okay? Good things, bad things. All right? Pimples, no pimples. Yeah. Whatever. All right? Okay? Okay. Facial hair, whatever. Okay?
Don't look at me.
All right. Don't look at me. Whatever you see, whatever the features you have. Colleen, who did you look at?
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel? Okay. All right. Good. So someone has to look at someone, right? Now, if I do this, all right?
I'm looking at you.
That's it. That's it. Let me ask you this. Does it change the features of the person?
No.
The features of the person are the same. They haven't changed. But because the lighting is different, now you're able to see less. All the imperfections that you saw, okay, you might not be able to see them now. Right? Yes?
So,
All right? Okay. If I do this, it's less, right? All you're seeing is a silhouette of the person. If you look in total darkness, it's going to be even less, right? Let's do this. Let's do this. See? But does it change the features of the person again?
no,
No.
just visibility.
Just how you're seeing it. Okay? And so that's what density and contrast are doing. Density and contrast allow you to see the resolution in the picture. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, don't look at your neighbor now. Look this way. All right, density, measurement of density. And I hang with me, guys, because I know you guys none of you have ever used film, at least radiographic film. And so it's just try to go back to when we study film, and I still have to teach you. Okay, that's the bottom line. I still have to tell you. So, all right, if it was up to me, I wouldn't be doing it, but you need to know. Okay. Radiographic density is a quality factor that can be measured with an instrument called a densitometer. So you have, and next time I'll have a densitometer so you can see it. And what you do is you bring the film, you pressure it. What it is, the densitometer, what it is it's a very strong light. It's a very tightly collimated, strong light. It comes through a little hole, and then you put the film on top, and then you bring a flap on top of it, okay? And then it measures how much light is able to go from one side of the film to the other. How much light, if it is totally dark, how much light is going to go through? Probably zero, if you have a total dark film. If you have a light film, all of the light is going to be able to go through. So that's how they measure it. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, good. That's called a densitometer. For measurement purposes, the radiographic density is defined as the logarithm base 10 of the ratio of the light hitting the film to the amount of light that is transmitted through the film. Okay? Which basically is what I said. Now, you use a logarithm 10 because density changes, they change so gradually that if you were to do it one by one, you will have an infinite number of values. And so for well, not infinite, but it will have too many values. You're talking more than 400 values. It will be too difficult. And so what they do is they use the base 10. Base 10, what it's doing, instead of, say for example, when you go from a density of 1 to a density of 2, what you're saying is that the density has increased 10 times. Following me? And instead of going 1 degree of darkness from 1 to the next, it has gone 10. And so when you have a change of density of one number, it's a huge increase. Okay, it's a huge difference between 1 density and 2 density. Big difference. 10 times darker. Number 2 will be 10 times darker than number 1. Sense? All right. Okay, this is the formula. You need to memorize it. I don't think they'll ask you that anymore.
Ooh,
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they will anymore.
Oh, no.
Don't cross it off though. I see some people.
Am I looking at this real quick? I missed the part by
Big excellent. No, don't do that.
You
You might need it.
Number 2,
But I don't, when I say they, I mean the ART when you take your national exam. I might, but they don't.
You might want.
Assessing density, ask something about that for me. Evaluation of the radiograph. Okay, assure that proper density are represented in the ROI. Okay, the ROI is in the radiographic film. All the densities that are represented on your radiographic film. Okay, and what you want is that proper densities. What do I mean by proper densities? There are densities that are of no value to us. For example, anything that has a value of less than 0.25 density is too light. You can see it. Okay? Anything that has densities above 2.5 and above is no good. It's too dark. Okay? You have a density value of 3, it's too dark. It doesn't work. So the typical, I'm not saying the only, I'm just saying the typical, all right, density values that you have in a radiographic film are going to go from 0.25 to about 2.5. And some textbooks will tell you from 0.5 all the way to 2.5. So on a test, you find the range that is closest to what I just told you. Oh, there you go. That's it. But you will find literature that will say 0.5. 0.25 is little. There's a little tint on it. Not much, just a little bit. All right, assessing density. Why don't we stop here because I need to return. I'm going to return your exams for 4:15.